I had this little CD player left at my front door with a note on it saying, "Thought you might like this for a teardown." So, obviously one of my neighbors knows me. We're going to tear it down. It's a tiny little CD player, one of the smallest ones I've seen with speakers. Made by Curtis from around 2005. Don't know if it works or not. We'll find out when I plug it in, but we're going to take this thing apart and see how it's built anyway, so let's check it out. Well, this has got to be one of the smallest little blasters that I've seen. I don't even know if you call this a blaster. Look at the size of the speakers on this thing. Like the speakers are, I kid you not, the speakers are the size of a 3-inch CD. Here's a little 3-inch CD. The speakers are actually smaller than this 3-inch CD, and I don't know what's on this 3-inch CD. I just found it somewhere. Looks like it's a CDR of some type. Anyway, this is a CD player with a radio. It's a Curtis. Don't know if it works or not. It was just left on my doorstep. Someone said, "Hey, you might like this for a video." So somebody that obviously knows me, one of my neighbors that obviously knows me, and thought maybe I would like to take this thing apart. And you know what? I think I will. I don't even know if it works or not. I'm just pulling it apart to show you guys. This is from 2007. It takes a bunch of batteries. Looks like it's, are these C or D cells that this thing takes? Those might be C cells. Yeah, those are probably C cells. So it takes 8, yeah, C cells. Here we go. It says right there, 8 C cells. Not too many things use C cells anymore. These days, pretty much everything uses AA or D. But this one uses C cells. Interesting. Anyway, so this one might end up, if this one actually works, this one might end up being on my patio just because, well, it's green and it's kind of cool looking, and we basically just use it for a radio. But I thought maybe we'll test this out and see if it works and clean it up. Controls probably need to be cleaned on this, I would think, because it probably hasn't been used in a while. And it's got an auxiliary input on the side too. Cool. So radio auxiliary off and CD is the function. Volume control over here, and the tuning over on this side, and AM, FM stereo. So let's plug it in and see whether it does anything. Whoops, someone stepped on the power cord. We'll just straighten that up a bit. That part works, the radio works. My test station. Oh, it lights up FM stereo. Cool. Let's go down to my other transmitter. Somewhere down the bottom end of the dial. There we go. That works. So the radio works. Cool. FM mono, FM stereo, and of course AM.
Elevator when it was crowded, and just call out all holiday TSX 167 Canadian dollar, trading at 77.72 cents US.
This is the Jill Bennett Show on 980.
Actually, this radio works pretty good.
Bruce, plug it in for Jill.
Oh, Bruce. I know Bruce very well. Very good friend of mine. He was actually the best man at my wedding, so known Bruce for years, and he's on the radio.
After someone heard the yelp for help. In fact, the dog in question, a beagle, the piping 40 centimeters long, and taking a look to unravel the whole story with us is David Dales, Nanaimo Fire Rescue Assistant Chief. David, thanks so much for joining us.
Got a talk show now.
Yeah, thank you for the time.
Tell us about...
Actually, if you look back at one of my videos from years ago, I did a video on Quesnel, BC. And I got a tour of a radio station. And my buddy that gave me the tour of the radio station, that's the guy that we just heard on the radio. He's been in radio since the 80s, and he's still on the air. Anyway, this works. Radio on this unit works. Let's see if the CD player works. And then we'll take it apart. Even if it works, I'll take it apart so we can take a look inside this thing. Let me grab a CD. So I switch it over to CD, and immediately the display starts blinking on the front. We'll load a CD in. It has a ball bearings on the disc holder, so there's no clamp, so the disc is actually held in place. Will this play? It says 20 tracks on the display. It's got a nice bright display. You couldn't miss that thing from across the room. And it plays. Excellent. Skip track. Not much bass, but for a portable radio, it's more than enough. Can't get over how bright that display is. Oh, yeah, that might be the disc itself. It's not a very good disc. But I can't get over how bright that display is compared to some of them that I've seen, including one that I own, a Sony, which has got an LCD screen on it, and the thing is so bloody small you can't read it. You got to put on magnifying glasses and shine a light on it to read it because it is so faint. And this one here, you can read it from across the room. Features your normal playback functions such as random play and programmable play, of course. For programmable play, you press the program key. Say you want to start out with track 7, and you want to play track 17, and then 20, and then 1. And then hit play, and it'll start out track 7. And then 17, 20, 1. And if you push the repeat button, it would then just repeat those 4 tracks. Okay, so that's that. It works. We'll try a different type of CDR on here and see if it reads that. I'm sure it will. If it'll read this disc, it's all scratched up. It probably will read anything. We'll try this one, and then I'll take the unit apart and we'll take a look inside it. See, there's not really much to do on this because, well, it works. That's to say, it was free. You can't beat free. So I'll pass it on. I'll probably give away the other one that I worked on that had the cassette deck in it. I'll give that one away. Keep this one, or give this one away. But it seems to be playing everything. I highly doubt that this will play a MP3 disc. In fact, I can pretty much guarantee it won't, because it doesn't say that it supports MP3, which CD players that support MP3 generally say that they support MP3 on them. But this one's playing this disc as well, no problem. So this works. So it plays the dark discs as well, no problem. I think what we'll do now is we're gonna take this unit apart, unplug the cord, and we'll see what's inside this and how few components are inside this unit. I doubt that there's going to be much in here, but we'll find out when we get into it. Looks to be 6 screws that hold this unit together. Alright, what comes off on this? Oh, the bottom pops off. That's I suspected. Everything's on the top. So the bottom, you've just got your power transformer, conventional 4-diode rectifier. Look at how long these leads were. Like, you know, they could have trimmed those leads down a bit, but I guess that would have taken extra time. The transformer probably came right from the factory with a plug attached to it and long leads, and rather than trim them down a bit, someone just put the full leads on there and just stuck it together. Here's the mechanism itself. It's using the motors of these. Mitsumi motors. Two Mitsumi motors. Our AM bar antenna. And I think we can take this apart a little more. I'm just going to unsolder the power supply wire so that I can get this out of the way. Maybe we'll shorten these wires down while we're at it. This is ridiculous how long these are, but see, it looks like an afterthought for the power. You know, they just batteries going through a switch to shut the batteries off when you've got it plugged into power, and they're just paralleling the power supply, because again, you can do that. The diodes are going to block anything from getting to the transformer unless you put the batteries in backwards. If you put the batteries in backwards, the diodes will conduct and you'll end up with power going through the transformer. We'll fix up these AC leads too. This is a joke. Like you see, these leads could have been cut to about that long. I guess someone didn't want extra scrap wire at the end of the day, so rather than cut them off, they just put the transformer in the way it was. Probably wouldn't happen today with all the penny pinching. They would tend to have everything cut as short as possible, because the scrap wire these days would have been recycled and used to make new wire. Because, as I say, these days everything's about cutting your costs every way you can. And at the end of the day, if you made 1 million of these players and you saved that much copper for each one of these, just the weight in the copper alone and the cost of the copper would offset the cost of trimming the wire down and making the lead shorter, because copper's expensive. So today there wouldn't be the waste that they had a few years ago, where they didn't care about putting in excess length wire. Let's pop out the circuit board. It's held in place by, looks to be 4 screws. These speakers are UPS branded speakers. I kid you not, 3 watts. Not very big, but again, it's not a very powerful radio. It's a couple watts is all they need to be. This should lift out the board. I don't think there's any other screws. What am I missing? I think I have to remove that gear. It's the tuning gear. It should just separate like this. And of course, the wires aren't long enough to do much. But I just wanted to see what this pickup is, and it's not a Sony. I thought it was going to be a Sony pickup, but it is not. It's a no-name brand pickup. Can't even tell what brand it is. If we unplug the motors here, I might be able to get a little more clearance. I'll disconnect the antenna. I can maybe swing the board up a bit more. Nope, I can't, because the ribbon cable is not long enough. There's a little ribbon cable in here that connects the CD mechanism with a laser. But you guys can see there. The audio amplifier IC is right there. It's a dip chip. If I unplug the pickup, now we can swing the board up a little more, get a better look at the rest of the electronics in here while I mess up my tuning dial. Okay, volume over here. This is our radio tuner, and it meshes with this gear which moves the pointer. The little switch over here at the back, that's to tell the system when the door is closed so that it can play the disc. We'll pop the traverse assembly out and take a look at that. It's a nice little rubber mounts that are not deteriorated, surprisingly enough. This being from 2005. It's about 17 years old, and it still works. Here's the pickup. Let's take a look at the... Oh, I can't. They glued this in place. Interesting. So I'm going to take a look at the gears, but I don't see any of the problems that we see on a lot of them, because these gears themselves got pretty good size beefy teeth to operate the traverse back and forth. Unlike some of them that have really fine teeth, and the gears always tended to develop a crack. Little switch over here that indicates when the pickup is at the home position. This is a QYCD01B optical pickup. This would be the detector, and the laser is probably over at the side. The laser is over here. Right, so the laser beam shines through, or shines out this way, hits a mirror at a 45-degree angle that reflects the laser beam up. It's a semi-transparent mirror, so it reflects the laser beam up, and then the laser beam comes up through the lens, hits the data on the disc, and goes back straight down through the mirror and lands on the detector chip. But a pretty basic optical pickup, which would be expected. Looks that the grease is okay on here, so I don't need to worry about that. We'll put this pickup back in and put this unit back together and see if it still works. Fingers crossed I haven't blown anything up. Normally when you remove the wire from the pickup, you're supposed to short the little pads here. I'm purposely not getting my fingers anywhere near here because I don't want to damage that laser pickup from static electricity, even though there's no real static this time of year. But normally when you take out your optical pickup, before you unplug it, you would put a short on those two pads there. Now the last one I worked on, the one with the tape deck, that would have been, I think that was like 1998, 97, 98, somewhere in there when that one was around. This one's 2005, and it does not have a cassette deck because, well, by this point in time, nobody wanted cassettes. They were just completely phased out at this point in time, and nobody wanted anything to do with cassette tapes. And of course now cassette tapes are back. Everybody wants cassette decks again for some strange reason. I'll never figure that one out, but everybody wants cassettes again for whatever reason, and they're demanding prices that I would have never thought of not that long ago. Hard part's going to be getting that ribbon connector back in. It's very, very short. How they did this at the factory, I'll never know. Because this ribbon cable is very short to go into here. I guess they put it in just like that and pushed it in. There we go. Alright, plug the motor back in. Okay, where did this one fall off of? Is that my speaker wire? I think that was when my speaker wires came off. Yeah, it did. They're using a black wire for the positive terminal for one of the speakers. Because the other one's over here. The negative is there, so that was good soldering. It doesn't, like, it wasn't even soldered down. How that even worked. Look at the end of the wire here. It's not even tinned down. We'll solder that back into the speaker here. Do a little better job than they did at the factory. Alright, let's reconnect the power. And test it out. Make sure that it still works. I'll test it before I put the screws in just to make sure that it is still functional. Polarized plug, why bother? Okay, radio. That works.
Lead race and saw 93.
Yeah, everything appears to be where it's supposed to be. We'll make sure the CD player still reads, and then we'll be pretty much done. It's spinning, and it reads 20 tracks, so as long as this thing plays, then we're good to go. And it does, so I didn't do any damage when I took it apart. Let's go out to track number 20, make sure it goes all the way to the edge of the disc, which it does. So, this one's all done. Just throw the screws back in it, and now I've got myself another little portable stereo to use out on the patio. And it looks a little bit nicer than that other one that had the cassette deck, so This one will probably become the one that goes out there and stays outside throughout the summer and becomes my patio radio to listen to. And the other one that has the cassette deck in it, well, I'll pass that on to someone else because, as they say, people look for cassette decks for whatever reason. They want cassette decks. I'm not one of them because I don't use cassettes. I never really did use cassettes, even when cassettes were the big thing. I was using digital tape and mini disc and recordable CD and stuff. I kind of missed that whole entire cassette phase. Never really got into recording much on cassettes. I have a few because I used to use them in my car for a short period of time. So I have a bunch of cassettes, but not a huge number. And I certainly wouldn't be using them today for any reason. Anyway, thanks for watching. We will catch you in the next one. Bye.